Hey everybody, this is Robbie with Robbie's Reptiles. Today I wanted to just kind of do a quick little rant because often there seems to be a miscommunication between either me, the breeder, or other breeders and our customers. Any sort of misconception around anything financial when it comes to breeding and selling and shipping these crested geckos. I kind of wanted to just talk about it and give you an insight into behind the scenes as a breeder, what we're dealing with when it comes to shipping, accepting money, the fees that we deal with, and everything like that, right? Because I've often run into a problem where I quote somebody for shipping and they say, why isn't the shipping free? I'm paying $400 for this animal. The harsh reality of it is the average shipping cost to do overnight FedEx delivery with an insulated box, with a phase change pack or a cool pack or a heat pack and everything like that, it ends up costing us, the breeders, probably about $75 on average in order to do one of these shipments. Whether it's one gecko or 20 geckos, obviously for more, it's way more expensive. And so that is just anytime you're buying an animal, even if I list something and it says $400 shipped, right? There's still room for haggling, but understand that we, the sellers, are already taking on the financial burden of the shipping cost. So when you see that $400 shipped, it's more like you're getting the gecko for $300, and then we are paying out of our own pocket all the expenses that come with shipping one of these animals. There aren't many breeders that I know that will charge for the actual shipping material and pass that on to the customer. I've ran into a few, but overall, I would say that isn't a very standard practice, especially because we're often buying and selling geckos all the time. So one thing that I do is I reuse the shipping boxes that I get in and out, right? If I do an order where I buy 5 geckos from a breeder, that's going to be a pretty big, let's say 12 by 9 by 6 box. I'll save that for when I have an order of about 3 to 5 geckos. I'll use that 12 by 9 by 6. So if you're ever in the process of buying a gecko from either me or any other breeder in this entire hobby, just know that when we say that we're selling something for, let's say, $300, and then that breeder asks you to send an extra $50, $60, $80 for shipping, they aren't just trying to make extra money and, take as much money for you as they can. That's the genuine costs of shipping. And a lot of that cost comes into where you live. I know that just the other day I shipped within Texas and it only cost me about $30. But when I ship to New York, it's often $85, $90 plus. Depends on where you live and where you are in the country, and it depends on where the gecko is being shipped from. Yeah, if I'm buying and shipping within Texas, it might be less than $50, but if this person I'm buying from lives in Washington or Oregon, on the other side of the country, and it has to fly all the way over to me halfway across the country, but also in a new time zone, so it actually has about 2 hours less to get to you at the right time, costs are going to be higher than if I was going from Texas to Oklahoma. So now we're getting into the weeds a little bit, talking about the fees that come with all of these different monetary apps, whether it's Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, Zelle, Square, Stripe, you name it, whatever you use. Every single one of these apps comes with some sort of caveat because they are trying to siphon as much money from their users as possible. So the way that this works is, let's say that I'm using Square, for example, a very trusted and reputable app. You can easily accept card payments, do invoices, everything like that, get their little card readers so at a show someone can pay with a credit card, debit card, whatever. I know I myself will tell my customer, hey, if you are insisting on paying with Square and using a card or credit card, you are going to accrue a 3.5% fee because that is the fee that Square charges. Technically, it's 3.35% plus 39 cents per transaction or something like that. But every transaction I've done, it ends up working out to exactly 3.5% of whatever your total is. I know that when I did the San Antonio show, I think I ended up losing out on about $500 just from this fee that I forgot to account for, just from simply using their card reader that I paid for. I paid the $75 for the card reader, but then Square is still taking more money from the sellers that are using their equipment that they paid for with their own hard-earned money. They're then also, any transaction you make, taking a big fee out of it. And it's not like they did anything in particular. I wasn't even using a lot of the things that they offer, right? Like you could say that, oh, well, that's a fee that you need to take because they have a seamless app that allows you to do this and that, and you can do invoices and everything like that. I was using it in the most basic form where all that Square was doing was allowing me to have a card reader communicate with my bank account and get me the money that I already paid for. If Square offered all of the readers, no matter what, for free, and the only way that they made money was through some sort of fee, then I would be a little bit more understanding, and I think other breeders would be a little bit more understanding. But for the fact that you're already spending upwards of $50, $100, sometimes even $250 on some of the card reading equipment, that you'd think that you can get all the money that you charge. But that's just one example. PayPal probably has the absolute worst environment to work in for the seller. It is entirely focused on the customer, which I understand. But then what happens when I get scammed by my customer? Regardless of me actually sending all the proof that this person bought this animal, showing that here's the tracking number, it got to their location, they sent me pictures saying how much they loved it and they were so glad they bought it. Then 2 months later, they tell PayPal that I'm a scammer, and then PayPal just rips that money from me, no questions asked, and says, sorry, he said that you scammed him. Do you have proof? Oh, I do. Here's all of the proof showing that he meant to buy this. And PayPal still ruled in the customer's favor. They obviously don't actually care about their users, and they would rather make money and just have people keep using their stuff so that they can make money off of all the fees that they also charge. PayPal, I believe, also has a 3.5%, maybe even a 5 or 4% fee. They also have something where you have to do personal or goods and services. And this has been a hot topic in the Crested Gecko and reptile world in general, because often whenever we're doing this, we say, please do friends and family, because otherwise we're losing that 3.5%, 4% fee. When we ask it to be in friends and family, all that does is put the fee onto you. And rather than the customer being mad at PayPal, it often ends up with the customer being mad at the seller, when both you and the seller are a victim to PayPal. These apps like Square and PayPal that offer these protected services, arguable how protected they really are, what they end up doing is pitting the seller and the buyer against each other, when really the enemy here is the apps that are having unfair rules and unfair fees attached to simple transactions. I feel that if we were a storefront and when you checked out something for $200 and the total came out to, let's say, $212, I feel that at some sort of storefront like that, it's way more accepted and totally fine. But as soon as it's a personal transaction between a reptile breeder and a buyer, let's say, I feel that it's just this unnecessary tension between the buyer and seller, when really it's the apps that are pitting us against each other. Over the past 4 years, apps like Square, PayPal, they have been doubling their net worth every single year, and it's because they've been slowly implementing higher and higher fees. I think it was like PayPal went from being $2 billion to $5 billion to $12 billion all in those 3 years that our 2-week lockdown of COVID happened. Let's say I list a $100 gecko. I have to account for the 3.5% fee when it comes to using one of these apps. Then I need to take into account sales tax. By the end of the day, that $100 gecko ends up only making me about $85, not including all the money that it took to raise it, the time and effort that I put into caring for all of these animals. All these greedy, big corporations are putting all of their costs onto us, the users, and then it's pitting us against our customers, and that's not what we should be doing. We should have understanding, and I hope that this gives you, as either buyers or fellow reptile breeders, some more insight into some of the frustrations that we deal with in terms of the financial apps that we use today. If you guys like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, all the YouTube mumbo jumbo. If you guys want to learn more about breeding crested geckos and a lot more of the business side of things, I do have a YouTube members program, which you can click down below in order to gain access to those videos. But that's going to be it for today's video. I appreciate you guys staying and watching. Comment down below or simply reach out to me on Instagram if you have any further questions, and I'll see you guys in the next video.